Nobody greater, Jesus.
They were not able to overtake the city. It was not fortified like Jericho. It was not industrious like Jericho. It didn't have the resources like Jericho. It was a small little city that they should have had victory over, but they did not have victory. Now, when we get to this text, God then gives them instruction to go back to Ai. And he tells them, but this time when you go back, I'm going to give you victory. For a few minutes, this is what I want to talk about, the process to victory. The process to victory. You get to victory through a process. I remind us all the time that we're living in a state of victory, that we don't fight for victory, we fight from victory. The victory then has already been given, but it's a process for you to get to that victory that has already been given to you. There's a process that all of us have to go through in order to get victory. I don't know who you are on this morning, but is there anybody in here that know that you are victorious? Regardless of what your circumstance might be telling you right now, you are victorious. Would you just look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, you are victorious? Turn to the other side and remind that other neighbor, you are victorious. Now just lay your hand on yourself and just say, I am victorious. No matter what I'm going through right now, no matter what I'm dealing with right now, I will get victory over my circumstance. You are victorious. You need to remind yourself that every now and then, because what the enemy wants you to think is that you're never going to get your victory, that trouble is always going to be in your life, that you're never going to escape from where you are. When I come with a word to somebody to tell you and remind others that the devil is a liar. Amen. You can have your victory on this morning. I'm going to ask one more time, do I have any victorious people? In spite of what your circumstance might be telling you right now, you can tell the devil, you are a liar. I don't care if I'm on the bottom right now. I know I am the head and not the tail. My circumstance does not dictate who I am. And there's a process to get to this victory. And when we look at the people of God here within our text gives us a model of what to do in order to have your victory. As you want victory in life, I just believe that you don't have to invent the wheel. All you have to do is find an example and follow the example that has already been given. Amen. And when we look at our text, it talks about a little city called Ai. It's a city then that the people should have had victory over the very first time. But God now takes them back to this city where they did not have victory the first time. The first time they didn't have victory, and they didn't have victory primarily for two reasons. The first reason is they went to battle and they didn't seek the Lord. They went into a fight that they never consulted God with. In other words, they had gotten arrogant, if you will, because they had had a victory at Jericho. God had given them the victory there, and for some reason they thought the victory was theirs all by themselves. And there's sometimes in life that you got to be careful, and God can't trust everybody with the blessings because you might think it came from you.
That's right.
God every now and then has to remind us that everything you have, God gave you. Everything I am, God made me. I wish I had somebody to know that God gave you what you have right now. Everything that you are is because of God. They had forgotten that it was God that had given them the victory, and this time they think that I can go and do it all by myself, and they go to a little city to fight where they should have had victory and they didn't have victory. One, because God wasn't in it. And you can never win when God is not in your circumstance. That's right. Can I hang out and preach right there for just a few minutes? Sometimes we get arrogant. That's why the Bible tells us that it's harder for a rich man to enter in than it is for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. Because at some point when you feel like you're independent and don't need God, then that's when all hell will break out in your life.
That's right.
Is there anybody that has discovered that I can't do this thing without God? I can't even walk without God. I can't talk without God. I can't exist without God. You got to be careful whenever you think you made it to a point that you don't need God.
That's
the
right.
reason that the congregation is not full on this morning and overflowing is because we got a lot of people who feel like they don't need God. But just keep on living and God will put you in a place where mama can't help you. Can I get a witness in here? He'll put you in a place where nobody can help you but him.
That's right.
God was teaching them that you have to be dependent on me. You didn't get to where you are because you were so smart. You didn't get to where you are because you're so cute. You didn't get to where you are for any other reason but God got you to where you are right now. And every now and then we ought to thank God for where he has brought us. I know we might not be where we want to be, but there ought to be somebody that can thank God because you're not what you used to be. You're not where you used to be. You don't have all what you used to have. I'm looking for about 25 more people that can give God some praise because God has brought you from I'm not saying that I have arrived at my destination, but you can look back over your life and you can see how God has brought you from a mighty long way. They feel like they don't have a need for God. And then there was a sin issue. There was a disobedient issue. When they went down into Jericho, he told them not to take anything. But here it was that there was just one person that decided that they were going to take something that God said don't take. And the one person caused everybody else to be infected because of his disobedience. And you got to be careful whenever you attach to somebody.
Amen.
That's living in disobedience.
That's right.
Because they will block your blessing. Y'all not catching that.
Come on.
Achan then takes something that God said not to take, and because of that, Joshua starts to seek God and to wonder what's really going on. God reveals to him that Achan had taken something that was not right for him to take, and because of that, he was cursing the whole congregation. He was cursing the whole household. He was cursing, and you got to be careful that whenever God has a curse on someone, you're not connected to them. I'm trying to give you a Bible. Watch this.
Come on.
Jesus cursed Bethsaida and said, I'm not going to perform any more miracles in Bethsaida. There's a man that has to meet him in Bethsaida that needs his sight. And so Jesus says to him, I'm not going to do anything in Bethsaida. I've already cursed this city. Take him by the hand and lead him out of Bethsaida before he performs a miracle on him. You got to be careful whenever you're around people that God has already said, I'm not going to do a miracle in their sight. I don't know who you are, but at some point you got to be connected to some blessed folk. I wish I could preach to somebody here.
That's right.
I'm looking for somebody that's blessed in here. You know you blessed. But you just throw your hand up and you know you blessed. If you know you blessed, you ought to turn to your neighbor and tell your neighbor, you ought to be glad you sitting next to me. I got the blessings flowing on this road. You ought to be glad. You on a blessed road just because I'm on this road. Because I know I've got favor on my life. That's why I tell you all the time, you ought to do a road check when you come up in here. Not everybody in here is even looking for Jesus. You ought to find a favor road. I'm looking for a favor road out there. Pastor, my road got favor on it because I'm sitting on it.